You on, boy? You on?
I'm on.
You're on.
Well, that's the usual, of course. How could it be anything else? Non-duality. One without a second. Not two. The one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing, expressing as everything. And you and I and everything else is only that. It couldn't be anything else. It couldn't be. Or they wouldn't put that label on. Now, if it is so, who or what is searching for it? Who or what is trying to become? And they call it, in Hinduism, Satchitananda, Nama Rupa. They are the 5 factors in the description of it. Sat is existence. Chit is consciousness. Ananda is loving to be, or the bliss of being. Another way they put it is being, knowing, and loving to be. Have an affectionate awareness of being. They're all different ways of saying the same thing. So, anyone who is not existence or is not being right now, anyone who is not aware or conscious right now, so you must be that already. Now that would, if you're that already, what is there to search for? What is there to become? There is nothing. Well, how did we get into this conceptual idea that we are separate from it? Purely and simply because we learnt words. Words is what seemingly divided concepts, ideas, images. And the word is not the real, it's not the thing. Because take this word water, can you drink it? The word fire, will it burn you? Can it burn your mouth? So you see, the word I or me that we take to be a separate entity, an individual, is not so. And what is this manifestation without any words? Can you separate anything or divide anything without the word? So they tell you, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's another label they put on it, God, meaning the absolute, but they put the word, and we take it to be a separate entity, an individual. And that's the fact. Tells you again in the Bible that God made man in his image and likeness. So we think these images we have, the likeness, that's what God's going to be like. Some imagined thing, but when they say in the image and likeness, it's just that the reality in which all these images appear in, the sense of separation. And we got this concept of God as a higher power or a greater being than what we are. And we think we've got to try and find this and give ourselves over to this higher power and become something which cannot happen. Because becoming is not being. Becoming is the immediacy of right here, right now. And becoming implies there'll be a future time when you'll change and you'll become something. And these words we've picked up along the way, which you weren't born with any words, they've all been learnt or acquired. And you say the word's not the thing. So we've got a conceptual image now of what we believe ourselves to be. But can you take yourself out of the basic screen in which it all appears? What's that screen? Well, can you postulate or think of anything outside of space? And does space have any centre to it? Any beginning to it? Any circumference to it? Any boundaries to it? And can you postulate or think of anything that could be outside of space? What would it be in? You realise you can't think of anything that could be outside of space. Now the space in this room. First thing you see is space. Space all around you. There's no division in it whatsoever. It doesn't stop when it hits the walls of this room and start on the other side. It doesn't do that anyway. It doesn't stop outside of this body. Put it under a microscope and you see there's lots of space in the body. Space is no thing. Has no shape, no form, no beginning, no end, no size, pattern. And you can't postulate or think of anything outside of space. So all these things are the content of space. Space is no thing, and all you and I are things, and everything else in this manifestation are things which we put labels on and discriminate them with the word or the label. And so we've got many instead of just the one. Can something come from no thing? Well, if it's no thing, how can anything come from it? It can't. So it's only the no thing, that means you, mine, everything in it, appearing or seeming as something. And they call that a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So they're talking about all this manifestation, which is a phenomenal manifestation. It's all appearing, only seemingly so. I'm catching up with you, mate. Yeah. But it's only seemingly so. And the appearances are not what they appear to be. So, there's a saying they tell you in the scriptures that you are that. That is the great mantra, I am that. Pointing out that if that It's only one thing, that is all there is. And innately you know that. Because you say, that's the chair I'm sitting in, that's the room, that's the space in the room, that's the tree, that's the flower. Everything in this manifestation, that's the cat, that's the house. It's all that which we put words or labels on and discriminate it further. So every so-called thing is that. Pointing out again that there's no separation anywhere, anyhow, anywhy. But we take on the belief that we are separate when we learn these words. Learn words like I am. Instead of I am that or I am the absolute, I am this person, this separate entity. And what's that word person? Comes from the Latin persona, the mask. It's a mask which we've changed with concepts, ideas, words. So we've got a conceptual image, a word-made image which we've taken to be real. I am that person, I am this body, I am this mind. All false concepts and ideas we've got, which we reinforce daily, our schools and parents and everyone else reinforce. And we've come to have the firm belief that this is what we are. And because it's separate and feels isolated and alone, it's open to all the fear, the anxiety, the stress and the guilt and all the conceptual image of separation brings about. And it's because of this so-called human being, this belief that we are this, that all our psychological suffering comes about with the capacity of reasoning and the words we've learned to discriminate it. If we didn't learn any words, could you discriminate anything? Could you say anything was apart from it? You couldn't. Tells you that in Hen Sing Ming. It's a scripture in Buddhism. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. We're not talking about just love and hate, but when the discriminating words or the thoughts or the ideas or concepts are not being divided, without the word, everything becomes clear and undisguised. It is then just as it is. What is? Not some conceptual idea. It says, but make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. So when we discriminate it with the word, we put all this sense of separation. And it's infinite separation. It's seemingly infinite. There's no way at all in which it can seemingly come together. And it goes on to elaborate on that till it comes to the end. And the last bit of it says words. Tell you, words. The way is beyond language. It's beyond words. For it, there's no yesterday, no tomorrow, and no today. So just putting out without the word, what are you with no yesterday, no tomorrow, and no today? Would that life go away without the words on it? We'll have a look, does it? You gladly give up the word every night when you go to sleep. Gladly give it up. But it's not the end of you, so it's not the end of you without the word. But now we think, oh, if we lose the words, it'll be the finish of us. But it is not. It's really only the beginning. because you're dropping back and recognising the absolute or the true nature. You can't split it up, you can't divide it, you can't separate it without the word. And you've had taste of that throughout your life. When everything's sort of fallen into place, call what you're in the zone or without the word. And it's been quite good. And people that are looking into this stuff have had taste of it without the word. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? They've managed to look past the thought or let it go for a moment or do something and had a taste of what's there without the discrimination, without the word. And the peace and joyousness there, the sense of well-being. So we need to recognise, look into it. What's this existence? Anyone who is not existing right now. And you'll say, no, I exist. And don't you know it right now? There's a knowing that existence is there. There's an awareness of being or existence. There immediately. And you say, I'm not conscious right now. Well, how could you say it? You've got to be conscious to say it. And is anybody unaware? And you'll say, no, you'll recognise straight away, I'm not unaware, there's something there. What it is, I don't know, just the pure existence itself. And I'm happy to be. I don't want to be dead, I don't want to be out of it. So that's what we pointed out as the factors of Advaita. And you don't have to find those factors. You are right now, but you lose sight of it. What do? Because we've learnt these words and everybody around us is using words, we're using them ourselves, and we've taken on the belief that we are the word, the body, mind, the person. We think we've got to become. We've got to become the one essence. And it's a long journey, many years of meditation, thinking, working things out with the mind, and we might become, if we're good and don't do this and don't do that, instead of all the rules and regulations they put on, that take us away from the spontaneous, natural, effortless living, which is the birthright. Life is ever fresh and ever new, it's spontaneous, it's beginningless and endless, timeless, spaceless. And it forms all sorts of pattern shapes and forms to express through. And that's what these bodies are, bodies, pattern shapes and forms. And the thing called mind, which we've divided. We divide up all these different sensations, feelings, not recognising them in their oneness and leaving them be as is, so the manifestations can express in its fullness. We divide it up into words and separate it, and in that sense of separation is isolation, separation, loneliness, fear, anxiety and stress. Trying to become what we think is a God. But you can't negate the beingness, can you? Can you say, I am not? But we put on that beingness human beings. We think we are a separate type of being, which we call human. And then we got this God thing again, which we take as a power greater than ourselves. A power greater. But lose sight of what they told us, that you are that. that is all there is. It's only the one essence, the one power. So you can't separate that beingness and to recognise that beingness is not becoming, because becoming implies a future time. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to become this greater power. But if we look into that, you'll see it's that power they talk about is omnipresence. It's total presence. It's omnipotence. It's total power. It's omniscience. It's total intelligence. It's not a separate higher or lower. It's the totality, the absolute. The great perfection, as they call it in Buddhism. So you already are that. And the search itself becomes the problem. And we do all sorts of practices, meditation and everything, trying to become. But a little bit of investigation, because they tell us again, in those that have worked it out, will tell you that the false cannot stand up to investigation. And they say that's not two, so there's true and false, a belief in true and false, separate. But it's the one essence. Two ends of the one stick. And when one essence seemingly disappears, the good and the bad comes up. We try to hang on to the other, keep it there, and get rid of when the other comes up, get rid of it. We don't want to keep it. So we're in conflict with it all the time. Not realising, left as it is, it's going to come around again, as you see. It's daylight here now. And seemingly, as it goes on, I won't say later on or in the future time, it'll change and become dark again. So, daylight and dark, separate things? No. Left as it is, the daylight will become dark, and the darkness will become daylight. So the same with the thinking and the feeling and all the rest of it. They're not the one, they're not the two things. One's come along and you've got to hang on to it, and the other is going to come up. The other will come, it'll come around itself. Just the same as you're breathing in and out. You're not going to stay in the out-breath all the time, or the in-breath. Just like your heart's throbbing and pulsation. Two aspects, expanding and contracting. So the thoughts will come and go, left as they are. But with that separation and division, we like the one and not the other. And so we try to get rid of the one we don't like and fixate on the one we do like. And that's going to cause a lot of conflict, because we're breaking the way nature is functioning. It's going on, it's vibrating itself into everything. We're trying to make it happen. We're bound to be in trouble. Bound to be in conflict. And all those thoughts that come up, the thought, feeling and emotion, three aspects of the one thing again, which are divided. Thought will be very subtle. The thought will come up, put the label on it. Then the sensation, the feeling will come on, and we'll put a different label on the feeling. The thought. You might think, oh, I like this, or don't want to do this, and then the sensation will come up. Feel that it's separate or whatever. Just like steam, water and ice in nature, three aspects of the one, so thought, feeling and emotion. Go on. So, thought is the mental aspect. When it becomes the sensation or the feeling, it's gone into the body, and the emotion causes fear and anxiety and stress and guilt and shape in their body. So we've given something to the mental, which is just a vibration. We put the thought on it, the word in it, and bring it into the body. It upsets the body. Get emotional upsets. Seemingly divided. Something that's indivisible. And in this belief we are this separate entity, there's a hell of a lot of suffering going on. All sorts of fear, anxiety, stress, anger, unhappiness, depression, guilt, jealousy, envy. All concepts, all words. We label everything. Because we can't, just don't go along seeing everything as it is, allowing it to change by itself, which because it is spontaneous, it's an actual vibration, a movement, it constantly changes of itself. And we think we can do a lot about it. We can change it. We can make it better or make it worse. Might seemingly happen for a little while, but still catches up with you. So what do we need to investigate? This conceptual idea of a separate entity, an individual, a person. Come in. Did you ring up this morning?
I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for the...
Good.
Please come in and
Thank
take
you.
a seat. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we give a bit of a talk to start off with. We're just about over that now, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you looked into this sort of stuff this morning?
Yeah, kind of, yes.
You watched him on YouTube.
Yeah, most some of yours.
I must have taken the hairs out. Put the hairs in. And that's what we point out here, that there's no separation. It's the person is not reality. We base it on the Hindu scriptures of Veda, Satchitananda, Nama, Rupa, existence, consciousness, bliss, name and form. We ask you, are you existing right now? And you know that you are. Are you conscious or unaware right now? You know you're not unconscious, you are conscious and you're not unaware. Are you happy to be? So that's the Satchitananda. So that points out that the search itself becomes the problem, because you're already that. And the Nama Rupa, the name and form, is the body-mind. And they say body-mind is Maya, illusion. And what we point out here, that it's all a vibration of energy, intelligence. I don't use the term God, because you can get confused with the term, because we've all got different ideas and what we think God is. I use the term intelligence, energy. I'm not talking about your intellects when I'm talking about intelligence. I'm talking about the same intelligence that rolls the earth around the sun, causes the seasons to come and go, the tides to come in and out. It's breathing you right now, it's beating your heart, growing your hair in your fingernails, it's digesting your food. And all those activities are energy. Intelligence is knowing, not your intellect, but pure knowing. And any knowing is an activity of knowing. Any activity is a movement of energy. So that's where I get the fact from. So I say start from the fact, whether you know it or not, or whether you realise not, you are already that. And that's the great mantra, I am that. And that's the chair, that's the carpet, that's the floor, that's everything is that, which we discriminate it with the word, put words on it. And the word is not itself, not the real. Drink the word water if you can. Take the word fire, does it burn your mouth? Can you heat yourself? So all these words have been picked up along the way. You weren't born with any words, and the word's not the real. Anyway, so that's a rough idea of what it's about, and we'll open it up for questions right now if you like. Want to say something?
Yeah, I can just welcome all the you guys that we didn't see you before, so nice to have you here. And we also have another 25 people who are with us online. So welcome everyone. We don't have any questions from our online audience, so this is the place where we actually, Bob finished the spiel, and we invite you to participate, share whatever resonated or didn't resonate, or whatever questions you might have, or doubts, or something that you strongly disagree with and feel that this can't be true. So please bring it up. We will that will actually prompt Bob to go further and explain further. And there are also people in that room with us who are beyond the need for further help. They're not seekers anymore. People who know Cliff, Jane, they know Bob for 30 plus years. They could well hold their own meetings. Peter, Dean, Ross, Adrian, they have very good understanding. Sebastian, when he shares, Julia has beautiful input. So we invite everyone to share whatever resonates, whatever sits well, because sometimes, as Bob says, digested through the different body-mind mechanism, it may have that frequency which is just well in tune with yours. So if you have any understanding or any questions, this is the time when we open the forum and pass on the mic to whoever feels like speaking. Anyone? Peter, would you? Oh. So lucky.
Lucky you.
Thanks, Bob, for another great talk. I really feel the resonance when Bob's talking, what he's saying. Like, it's like my whole body kind of lights up, and I can feel like this choiceless presence. Like I can kind of see or feel, understand that I have no choice in a lot of the matters that happen in my life. But then at the same time, I struggle with, I guess, decisions in a sense, and understanding when to make a decision, or am I even making a decision? Like, in particular, I guess what I'm talking about is in relationships I'm in or I've been in, where like there seems like you have to make a hard decision, but then part of me maybe leans into like, oh, I'm choiceless, like, and just let things kind of go on as they are, and it almost feels like an excuse. But then on one hand, I'm not sure how to make a decision when it feels like I'm forcing myself to do something. Like, how does this concept of choicelessness fit in there?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question.
Decisions are made, choices are made, decisions are made, but there is no choice maker. That's the problem when the decision comes up, and you put it, and it'll come up, and then you'll say, I've made this decision. You put it on to the believed in separate entity, but what's your next thought going to be? You can't tell me what your next thought is going to be. But you'll say, I think. As soon as you say, I think, you formed a subject, a thinker. And I'm thinking this thought. And the thinker and the thought become divided. I'm thinking this thought. But can there be a subject, a thinker, without thinking? There can't be. Can there be a thought without thinking? There can't be. So can there be a choice without the choosing happening? Can there be a choice maker? So you see, it'll seem to be that I'll make the choice or I make the decision or I'll do it. But you recognise that the I that's doing it is not you. It's the life essence itself that's doing, that translates as the thought I am. You are that life, that reality, the actuality, or godliness, if you like to use that term. That sense of presence. So, but, see, the I is really the absolute. That's all there is the absolute. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing at all. What can you take away from it? Nothing. So it's only the absolute. But we've learnt that when we learnt words from our parents, you weren't born with any words, so you learnt words when your parents were about 2.5, and you learnt the word I am, the sense of presence, which translates through the mind as the thought I am. But that thought is not what you are. It's only a translation. So when Nisargadatta tells you stay with the I amness, he's not telling you to stay with that thought. He's telling you to stay with what it represents. It realises this presence awareness that you are. You're not unaware. You are present. Like I say, you're existing right now, you're conscious, and you're happy to be right now. You don't have to become that or find it. It's already so. And it's always been so. But we lost sight of it through the words. As Shakespeare told you 400 years ago, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And Nisargadatta tells you nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination. Now break that word imagination down to imagine, imagine. And realise that's all we're doing. We're creating mental images or concepts and take them to be real. And we get lost in the concepts. When it's the one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing, expressing as everything. Only the one. Always been the one. So we're relating to this so-called personal being and thinking it has some substance and some independent nature of itself. But as absolute, what can the absolute do? It can't do anything. So what does happen? To experience it itself and express itself as forms, patterns, shapes and forms to express through. And the life in those patterns, shapes and forms, seemingly separate, they have, like this body for instance, got a brain and all the nerves and things like that. How could you say a word? What good would the body be without it? So that's how this innate intelligence functions. It takes care of all that, forming the body, and all this manifestation is that one essence, as I tell you in the scriptures, from Brahma to a clump of grass, or Shiva Shakti. Shiva, the static aspect, and his consort, Shakti, the vibrating, his female aspect. Shakti vibrates and the world appears. So it's all a vibrating energy, but it's still the one essence. Shiva Shakti is not divided. So the division, the conceptual image we divide, is our problem.
I'll just add to it, because it is a really vital problem, the decisions, having that cognitive capacity to predict different scenarios. It makes it much more kind of make us much more prone to vacillating and being uncertain and obsessing. What if I do this? What if I don't do that? If you look at the animals, they don't usually have that problem. If there is a relationship to continue or to break, they, the strong certainty what to do shows up and the action shows up. So the best thing to stay in the natural state is to stay in that state, in that space, as Bob was saying, in that thoughtless, non-conceptual space of the heart, of I am, and wait till decision is fully made and makes itself clear, because they are decisions that you seemingly make on a daily basis. Am I going to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? And this is very strong, clear decision. Oh yeah, I feel for this. And then, of course, this is not the I that makes the cup of coffee or tea. It's the body-mind that follows the impulse, the instinct. And the same happens in everything in life. How we can reduce the suffering is to just not vacillate too much in the thinking, because obviously the decision is not clear to be followed up yet. It's not made yet. It is not crisp. It didn't really arrive. So before it arrives, and I've been in that place, especially already having strong conceptual understanding. I remember yelling at my guru in India to help me, because this is important, just make that decision for me. And he just kept laughing and laughing, and was, really, how important is that? Whatever happens, whichever way will the dream go, whether you will stay or you go, or this happen or that happen, it will be just a different content of the dream. But what's really important is to recognize your true nature regardless of the content. Whether this happened or that happened, the possibility is to be free and complete and fulfilled no matter what. Because there may be more scenarios which we can't even see right now. And I see there might be some answers, because I see a couple of people from online group. Word equals ignorance equals learning equals thinking. That's from Amarnath. And love from British Julia. And Mirella says, thank you, Bob, for pointing out that seeking is the problem, but I must seek. If I don't seek, I daydream all day. Even seeking for the decision is a daydream. Seeking is the daydream, is precisely being with what isn't right now. Seeking for completeness or fulfillment or something bigger or greater or light or something is basically saying it is not there. So it is being with imagination, with what is not there. Being with what is there is to acknowledging what you're seeking, you already are. That love, that godliness. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue, because I have a few more people.
Sure. I just, what really keeps coming up for me is what Bob pointed to was there's no decision maker. Decisions are made, but there's no decision maker. Yeah. So I think it's important to see that this decision maker that we think we are, this me, or this, whatever, is just a narration upon that presence that you are. And it's the only way it can operate is in the pairs of opposites. And once you really, really see that, once you really see the me and the other person, place or thing is always going to have a little story about what's going on. I think it's good to see that there is and there never has been a decision maker or a me, but decisions are made. And the less you're sort of attaching onto the story, the me and the other story, the more you're on spontaneous moment, and decisions are made, and then the action follows. And when you really, really focus your attention on that, it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible how it just sort of appears in front of you. Mm. And you see the narration, which is always me and the other, can only work in the pairs of opposites. You see it going on, but that's surface stuff. You know, the actual decisions that's made is not of the mind. You're either attracted or repelled from something. Like Kat was pointing to the animals, they're either attracted or repelled from something. They don't have a big story about will I, won't I, shouldn't I, blah blah blah, because they don't have that capacity. But what happens is we attach to the narration, and that's the habit. That's the biggest habit to break. We're just such habitual creatures. But when we realise that there is only one, and that everything is contained in that spontaneous moment, everything, you know, we stop focusing on the mind trying to make the decision, and we start being here right now. Those decisions will be made, but no decision maker, no me, no story.
Yeah, I might just say on that one that, as Bob said and Jane said, Kat says, the decision's made anyway. Decisions are made, and I was sort of thinking a bit like you might be on a path, out in the bush or something, or somewhere you're travelling along, and you know there's an intersection coming up, and you know that you want to go, right, or something, take path X. And, that decision sort of feels like it's made, and off you go down path X, or you come to the intersection and you haven't made up your mind whether it's X or Y, and you're not going to hang around there for long, but suddenly the inspiration will go, I'll go X, and you start going along that path, and you go, this is good, or this is bad, or I should have made this decision, or I shouldn't have made that decision, but there's no I that made the decision. The decision came through an inspiration or that intelligence anyway, and you go, I made a good decision or I made a bad decision, but there's no I making the decision.
I was just going to share sometimes on that. Now, sort of more where I'm coming from now is really just like the stuff that's coming up, but it's more like I'm just sitting there just noticing, and I'm just noticing, I wonder what's going to happen, I wonder what thought or decision is going to happen. Like, I'm sort of going to be planning a holiday in like a month or so, and there's a few different options, and I'm just observing what's going to come into it, like the research or some inputs or some thoughts, and I'm just observing the whole thing playing out rather than it's me in there going, I'm going to do this or that. It's sort of like watching the space move with the thoughts and stuff. It feels a bit more like that. And like I went into PT the other day, I had nothing planned, and I was just like going, I've got nothing planned, but I'm just watching what's going to happen and what's going to get organised, and it was like a lot less stressful. So.
Oh, okay. I just find there's a few more inputs from people who are with us. Tanya says, "Hi Bob, hi Kat. There is no more seeking, and have been asked to give guidance pointers. When in conversation about this, the words pointers don't come out so easily. Mostly there is a silence, no thought. I know the clear of expression of pointers, guidance may come verbally or not," laughing out loud. "Any guidance on guiding, pointing to the truth?"
Is that Tanya?
Tanya, yes.
Tanya does all right.
Yeah, you do all right, Tanya. Wait, sometimes if silence shows up, that's what's needed. Sometimes I found that actually giving people space to find their own truth may work the best. Just ask them questions and see what they already know and recognize, because that's an innate wisdom. Everybody already has it, already right here, right now. Just find it. You may use the prompts, like, how clear is that? It may not be that clear that when you ask people straight away, do you know there's no self? Nonsense, I am. Oh yeah, but I am. That's knowing, that's known, that's easy. You'll be guided.
What we point out here is you're not the body and not the mind. Don't know whether you looked into that or not. Are you the body? Initially you'll say, my body. You say, my coat, my car, my house. Maybe you know you're not the coat, the car or the house. Maybe you're not the body either. We'll investigate and see what's the body made up of. You realize the body's made up of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space, just like the elements around you. Separate yourself from those elements if you can. Stop breathing. Take the water out of your body. Get off the earth, get out of space. You realise you can't separate yourself from those elements. Those elements can be all reduced to subatomic particles into pure energy. So the body's only a vibrating pattern of energy. And the mind is the same. Show me your mind if you've got a mind. You'll say, my mind. And realise there's no mind apart from thought. And if mind is thought, which particular thought would you be? Well, you'd be that I am thought, wouldn't you? That's the primary thought. But that you gladly give that thought up every night when you go to sleep. So you must realise you're not the thought. So that cancelled the mind out either. That all these things come upon it through that pattern that's expressing that pure intelligence energy. But we take them to be the personal instead of seeing on what they are.
Yeah.
Namaste, Bob. Just have one, maybe I don't know whether it's a dumb question, but when Nisargadatta Maharaj says, watch as a witness of things happening, it's all happening as due to Maya. When he says watch, I am using my mind and intellect. I am using those equipments to, then how can I separate myself from mind and intellect to watch?
How can you separate yourself from the mind?
So when Maharaj says that don't attach yourself to what's happening, you are separate from body, mind and intellect, which I understand. I am not the body-mind complex, which my mind is making me realize that. But when he says that watch everything, witness everything, you're not there in that. You're just a witness. But I can witness only with my mind and intellect. So how can I be?
Well, at the same time, you kind of are the mind, and you're everything, right? So I love his pointer of intelligence energy, because that for me just love that one. That intelligence energy is the thought. It is the mind. It is the intellect. It is the observing. It's everything. So that's what's in. Even you're seeing yourself as that, as I'm just this energy that's making the thought happen. That's everything. That is inclusive of that. I don't know if that's helping you in any way, but that includes that. Go ahead.
No. I think Bob wanted to address it.
Can't do better.
But I say, without a thought, you're still seeing, aren't you? I say, you're seeing right now,
Yeah.
and you're hearing right now,
Yeah.
and see,
Without a thought, yeah.
it's without the thought, that's pure witnessing. But when we describe it and put the word and concept on it, we mix them down.
Yes, that's good. That was very, he says that's very simple. That I got it now. Yes, absolutely. This is just so simple that we miss it because of the simplicity of it. It's too obvious. It's already happening. You are the witnessing presence. Within you, the whole world arises. That's so simple. It's so obvious and it's so undeniable. You see, you close your eyes, the world disappears. You open your eyes, the world appears. So you are the presence, the witnessing, the presence of awareness. Everything comes and goes. So the whole Maya is just the way it vibrates, like Julia was saying. It's too simple for the mind. Mind makes it complicated. Oh, how do I separate myself to be this or that? Oh, blah, 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 blah. This is what creates the problem. In direct experience, it's just, right, of course, easy. That's how animals experience, how little babies experience it. They already with it. I'll just read a couple of other inputs from people who are with us online. So this was Amarnath. Seeker was never born. How can he die? Still seeking can happen. That's the mystery. Be certain with uncertainty. Both are false, and a lot of smiles. And Mirella says, yes, the seeker thoughts just pop up. No one seeking. Thanks, Amarnath. That's clear when I'm not in the dream, says Mirella. And John David says, if you want to remember this visit, if you have love for me, remember this I am principle, and without the command or direction of this principle, do nothing. And this is from Nisargadatta, the book prior to consciousness. And Amarnath says, lots of love, Jane. Missed you for a long time. Timeless, spaceless, impersonal being was apparently missing, absconding. And Amarnath also says, watching without eye, mind, intellect, and ego, how beautiful is this blindness with brightness of love. All doubts are arising in background of clarity. What a mystery. Doubt is just costume of clarity. Beautiful. Dale Allison says, who is watching, waiting, asking, what is going to happen? What decision will I make? Which place will I plan to travel to? Yes, who is the one who wants to know? Julia has a nice take on it. Who gives a shit? Very Australian sailor type of a language. Yes, rough. But it's memorable. So it's effective. It is a good pointer, yes. And Amarnath says, no one is traveling to the space of nothing where everything, everyone present. Attachment and detachment are both illusions to whom are both. Voice in the head never touched us, reflection of our heart. See the mirror first. I am slowly mirror, I'm also lost. And a lot of faces. And Amarnath also says, blah, blah, blah is best mantra to come out of mind. Thank you, Kat. Everyone got pregnant with truth today, says John David. And now, anyone? Please.
No, no.
There's only one male, and that's God, and the rest of us are females. And, only lay ourselves open to be penetrated by the divine.
That's a nice take on. Yeah, that's a sort of a shamanic approach that father or the male is, or the Shiva is the pure consciousness, and Mother Earth or Shakti is the feminine aspect. The movement is the feminine. So everything that moves, the body that moves, changing cell, this is all feminine. So yeah, find your feminine, your openness, and that consciousness, that sky penetrates it already. Just in quiet it is clear and obvious. Thank you, Peter. That's a good reminder. One male, it is God, and everything else is female. The Maya, the dancing Maya. What a girl. And can you not love her?
Often this discussion here comes around to whether there's a doer or not. The doer would be the assertion that I am real in time and space. That nothing associated with that is ever more than a passing experience, isn't it? You know, nothing that I can postulate as being the proof that I am a mind, body, and time and space hangs together, does it? It's always just falling apart. And any postulation that I make about myself or about what the me, is doing, I like to say, is a untenable outpost of exclusivity. It's like whenever we decide something is happening, we exclude everything else. But you know, the whole process of life seems to be one of how long do we want to stretch the rubber band, because everything is inherently one, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, this whole time and space experience really is just a stretching of the rubber band. It's like the insistence that, yes, this is right and that's wrong. And, you know, inevitably the rubber bands come, just brings it back together in wholeness, and that's all that's ever really going on. You know, when we lay back and we allow ourselves to be penetrated by God, what I mean by that is that we just allow everything to be just perfectly as it is. And even the negative, the really negative things. Isn't that true? It's like, you know, or the very positive for that matter. We let them all be just as they are. You know, it's an amazing thing, really. Don't try to change anything. Well, you know, the best thing one can possibly do is just to invite everything to be seen in its entirety. And so we cover up things. This is how the ego works, isn't it? The mind and separation perpetuates separation by not by being still and looking between the thoughts, you know, not by being still and just letting things come to us, but you know, we are absolutely insistent on solving a problem. You know? But as we just let everything that's is rising out of us and rising before us be seen in its entirety, without running to fill the gap with words, and just letting it be there, you know, the agony of the loss of a loved one, or you know, the exaltation of a you know, finally getting a degree or whatever, or whatever, you know, swimming in the English Channel. The interesting thing is that, you know, when you see these people who run the get the gold medal or kick one through the big stick, say, do you know? Yeah. You know, anything like that. You know, people ask, how does it feel? How does it feel to have the premiership flag in your hand now? And more often than not, they say, well, it hasn't hit me yet. Yeah, it's like, yeah. But all I'm saying is, you know, if we let everything be just as it is, now this requires a love, really, because in a sense, because you have to let yourself be intimate with your world. You know, you have to reveal yourself to everything that's, you know, or reveal, you know, open the mind, open the heart, and see everything. Just give it a moment. You know, don't rush in to try and solve a problem. Just let it rise up and show you what it is. You know, we've experienced something like that just recently, which was a beautiful, beautiful thing, because at the end of the day we didn't leave with a grievance, we left with an exquisite deepening of our appreciation of the reality of what we are. Because in the end we just simply opened our hearts and allowed these seeming opposites to come rushing back in and be solved in the realization of forgiveness, that nothing really happened at all. Yeah. So God blesses every one of us who shows up. Every everything that shows up, you know. The rubber band, or the band that stretches so gracefully across the universe, joining all phenomena together in this huge swirl of coming together in wholeness in us is, that's what life is. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think I have another couple of comments. John David was saying that everyone got pregnant with truth today, and Amarnath says, but miscarriage happened of false pregnancy notion, I am the personality. Yes. And British Julia says, no thought is conscious, stay here. Amarnath, beautiful. Consciousness acting as unconscious in thought, action, and actor are false. And Gilbert says, leave it as it is, too simple. Egotism says, there must be something I can contribute. Yeah. And Amarnath says, thanks, Peter. Movement of mind is not ours, is notion. Nothing's happening on which appearance of happening is seen. Yes, and that's the beauty of what Peter was expressing. Like, really, freedom is when you allow all the waves of whatever life brings and washes over you to come. Be it uncertainty, be it physical pain, be it fear, be it whatever. But you know that those waves are passing, moving through you because you are the totality which is experiencing the waves. You don't have to fix them, you don't have to justify them, give them meaning, give them story. Just be completely present with whatever arises. And there is incredible freedom and incredible beauty even in uncomfortable situations. Like Bob was saying of Hin Sing Ming, when the love and hate are both absent. And that doesn't mean love and hate, that means labels of pairs of opposite. And you left with the energy. And the energy, of course, it is constantly changing. It has so many ways of vibrating. And just see that beauty, even of a energy that may be a little bit making the body uncomfortable or shivering or crying or whatever the energy is doing. This is also going to pass through. It is going to change. And right here, it is, if it is to be loved and appreciated and embraced in the unconditional acceptance, because this is what life or God is giving itself to be experienced and embraced. And yes, it takes you to the other side in a way that it reveals its gifts. So it is not like the personality Amarnath was saying, misconception or miscarriage will straight away come up with the story of victimization or wrongness or whatever the story. But you don't have to really leave that moment of intensity and trade it for a thought. Like Bob has this often quoting Banki that everything's perfectly unborn, resolved in the unborn. Why trade it for thought, for story? Why contrive it and kill it and alter it and modify it and make yourself right, someone else wrong, or the opposite? There is a possibility for experiencing life in a way which is much more profound and much more fulfilling, even in the moments of darkness or doubt or fear or uncertainty.
Thank you, Kat. That's really wonderfully expressed. Thank you. It's beautiful. Oh.
Sorry.
Here we go. If you just give me a moment, I've lost the train of thought. That thing interrupted my thought processes, so that's probably a good thing. Yeah, somebody else wants to say?
Probably for the reason,
Oh yes, I've got it now. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, this moment is these moments that arise, or everything that is arising. Really, I've learned that the approach to it is really one of the heart, because, it's like it becomes extremely simple in as much that, what is the action of self when you just simply reveal and let everything be just as it is, It is simply an expression of the heart. Well, okay, I surrender. I'll let you be. I will stop opposing you. There is no mental. There should not be a mental answer to that. One should not rush to I'll just say this. I'm entirely wrong on many things, but. One should not rush to a solution with the mind, because in order to escape some problem or to cover over something that's happening in your life. No, the simplicity of all, and this is where, as you were saying, Kat, the beauty and the depth of this experience comes in, is where you just simply open yourself, and in that opening to what is, it is an extremely simple, non-mental act of love, really, isn't it? Yeah, it is an act of love. It's the opening of the heart and allowing this that I have opposed violently before. I'll allow that to rush in and flood me. And in so doing, do we not always realise some kind of amazing beauty that results from it? Yeah. Thank you.
I was just thinking about what you were talking about earlier, about this idea of choice and no chooser. Sorry, Bob. I was just saying that I was just thinking, I probably said this 100 times, so I hesitate now to speak, so 'cause I repeat. But when I don't know, I just feel like saying that this understanding that there's nobody making a choice. Wow, that was so helpful in my life, so game changing, because there is a temptation to blame and should on situations and people. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't. All the thoughts that I had about what should and shouldn't. And when you can investigate and see that, well, if it was, it's what should be, what it should have been. But if it's here now, this is exactly what should be. Because it couldn't have been any other way, and because there's nobody. Well, when it's seen that nobody did anything, well, then that really just kind of kills the blaming. And if the blaming is killed, then the judging is killed. And with the judging and the blame both killed, or both gone, seeing that nobody ever did anything, I'm left with just as it is. It's just as it is, which to me is what I call love, yes. Or the way I think of love. It doesn't necessarily have to feel this, I agree, this is the kind of stuff I would choose, that doesn't, but at the same time, it is what I choose. It's hard to explain, but it's so, God, it really has helped, because there's times in my own life where I've been, you could go into the story of victimization quite easily. It's fun, isn't it? Oh my God, but not for a long time. It's not fun. Man, it's not fun for a long time. When it's seen that person who I would have claimed was a person doing this couldn't have done anything else. She's like the 2-year-old with a gun, who kills somebody. You know, that nobody blames the 2-year-old, do we? You know, well, in a way, we're all that 2-year-old. And that just makes it easier to see that, you know, what happens is retrospect. We look back on what seemingly happened, and I say seemingly because it's all in your head now, and it's going to change with new insight and time and all that stuff. So when we look back, there's just a naming and the claiming. I did it, she did it, he did it. But there's just seemingly doing. And that just takes the sting away. So I just love this message. Anyway, here you go.
It's, to me, every thought and every opinion, everything that occurs, every problem, is really just a child of my own that in the greater awareness, in this sense of pure awareness that I am, that I bring home, through letting everything be just as it is. Extend love to everything that I've judged and put out, cast outside myself. Now, in the awareness, the sense of being a vast field of awareness, I'm like a mother that is just simply bringing home a lost child and saying, "All right, I'll let you be, and you can rest now in the in the bosom of awareness that I truly am." Yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to say something?
It's funny, I was just observing that whole thing again. There was a response that came up from some comments online like, is it Veda police and spiritual ego and being corrected, and I just watched all those thoughts bubble up with the emotion, and I was just observing them, and the story sort of coming up and then dissolving and then the space again. So it's just, I think it's naive to think everything's peachy and that. Like there's going to be some emotions that from the old self would feel like uncomfortable, and that's they're mine and I need to defend that and all that sort of stuff, and then dissolving without needing to defend anything, like sort of thing. Yeah, so...
What just kept coming up from the conversation before about leaving things as they are come from a 12-step background, and there was just a cute little saying was, "I can't, you can, I think I'll let you." And of course the I is the mind, the you is that presence or awareness that you are, and the letting go of the mind. So I can't, you can, I think I'll let you. It's just a very quick, sharp pointer to let it go, basically. Not that there's anyone to let it go, but yeah, that's what was just coming up for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
Meaning the you is the I.
No, the I is I can't, that's the mind. You can, that's the presence that you are, or the totality. And the I is the mind letting go to let the totality leave things as they are. So I can't, you can, I think I'll let you. Yeah. So in other words, what Peter was saying before, I give up. It's the same sort of thing. It's just a few more little pointers in there, Dean.
No. You want to say something, Dean?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, why not? Yeah, that's a beautiful summary of all 12 steps of the 12-step programs. I can't, God or higher power can, let him. And those, every point has like 3 steps for doing it. Realizing that you can't do anything. You're not the doer. How could you do anything? You're not even there. That's right. But there is a power greater than yourself that is beating your heart, that is organizing the universe. Breathing you at night, yes. And that power, that can do anything. So get off the way and let the power that has the power stop dreaming that you are the doer. That's a
that really
beautiful
does help
summary.
When you're like wanting to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is, we have the comment, there was actually a great question from Mirella. When you let everything be, where does attention rest? So you have this beautiful saying about leaving things as they are and unfixated awareness. Where
Unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected.
In unfixated awareness, we're seeing, hearing. Can you speak it out?
Where does the attention rest?
The attention, unfixated awareness. Do you want to elaborate?
Let it rest in its uncontrived singularity.
Yeah, and you also say sometimes that, you know, we exclusively and habitually focus the attention in the thinking. And there is a lot happening in the present experiencing, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. And very often that attention is unavailable when the whole stream of the processing capacity goes into imagination. That's right. So when Mirella is asking, where does the attention rest when you leave everything be, when let things unfold as they do? Attention is naturally unfixated in a present moment, in that open field of curiosity where things unfold. There may be something happening in the hearing, there may be something happening in the seeing, tasting, touching, smelling. And this will be picked out, just like you see the animals in the wild. They always with what is, they always present. And if any of the senses needs to be utilized, it just jump in front and it is being utilized. And that's the optimal way of being. And of course, being human, it includes the planning, thinking, when it's necessary, and not constantly, not in a way that is making us dysfunctional and suffering. And of course, it doesn't mean that we can stop thinking and employ thinking only when we decide, because there is no we, there is no us to do anything. But the recognition of the unproductive imagination is the invitation. When you recognize that there is a processing, imagining, revisiting, making meaning and writing stories when this one is happening, and you recognize that it is happening, and you leave it as it is, and part of that attention which recognizes it is already back home, is already sky-like or space-like presence in which that churning of the mind is happening, and then it isn't personal anymore. Did you want to say something?
Thank you. Just before we get to our final segment, no, we won't do that. Okay. Sorry, that's falling off over there. What was I going to say?
Can I hold that for you?
Yeah, sure. I've totally forgotten. So, here. Oh, sorry. You want to say something?
No.
Do you know? No.
Dean, you want to say something?
No, but all right, it's here. So,
Yes, please do.
that attention thing you're talking about is
Yes.
it applies to the choice maker, the chooser, the non-doer. It applies to everything. It applies to the witness, and it's a what is it? It's like there's a magnifying glass, and all the attention's focused on a narrative, on a story, and then and you see that that's useless. The magnifying glass gets thrown away, and all of a sudden everything's included. So the good and bad becomes so much easier. The flow is just because there's no magnifying glass. You think some of the people are walking around believing that the universe exists in a little narrative, just here, or just behind the eyes, or just the back of the head, and it's not true. And attention, somehow seeing this over and over again, attention stops focusing on that. The magnifying glass is just thrown out the window, and like Pete was saying before, everything is heartfelt after that, because the attention was. There's no more focus here, so everything's included, and there can't be an issue, and there can't be an issue with a choice or being a doer, or you don't even, because there's no attention on me that's going to make the right decision or wrong decision or good choice or bad choice, and there's not even a me that's choosing to soften their attention, like you know, it's just
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's like actually what we become is just simply the action of love, the action of forgiveness, the action of inclusion. We're not anything at all. You know, there is no self there. It's like, as we keep saying, but however we often say it with the inference that there is someone there, a me here, that gets that part of it as well. You see, but there is no me ever. Yeah, even the most exalted thing, there's no me to get that, and there's no me down in the dross to get that either. We are just simply this action, this energy, this movement of energy, in truth. Yeah, and so Dino, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to have Dino in the studio again, and he's a bit reluctant today. So
there's only a few minutes left. So.
Okay, I have couple more comments. There is one from Vivek. No need to notice, run after waves. No importance to waves. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Rewinding a little bit, what you've said, that we are not doers, right? Someone is planning everything. So the universe is planning, the I is planning everything, right? In the universe.
No one there. No one's planning.
Okay. So where is free will? That's my question. If something is, if someone is managing whatever entity or power, where is free will? I've read in Bhagavad Gita as well, like Krishna says that you do what I want and what you want will follow. But then where is free will? Yeah. Should we stop thinking and go with the flow? Or should we keep stressing about what's going to happen? What am I supposed to do? These questions arise from there. This is the confusion.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So if this question is answered, a lot of problems might get solved.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll hold it.
What needs to happen then? Just who is the questioner that wants to know? The questioner, just another thought coming up. Yeah.
And there is a seeming free will, there are seeming choices, there are seeming doers. The whole brilliance of that Maya is totally convincing. It looks like there is someone there, some little dwarf that is doing decisions, that is having free will. It feels like there is somebody there driving that bus, somebody that is beating the heart. Nobody has ever found anyone beating the heart, so obviously there is no free will in that. But it seems like there is a free will to perhaps do your meditation practice or not. Am I going to do it or am I not going to? Oh yeah, that I have choice. It's a seeming choice in that. There are seeming choices to go with the flow or go against the flow. But do you know your next thought? You don't. So the next thought will arise according to the collaboration of every single force in the universe, according to the weather, to your parents, to your diet, to your influences, your childhood traumas. All of that will constitute the next thought. So we can say, oh yeah, but I have free will to follow that thought or not. But even that is a thought. So basically, even though there is a very strong, persistent illusion of separate self, or separate soul that has free will, when you really look deeper into it, you see that all the choices are conditioned. And they are preconditioned by the collaboration of the whole universe. And that's another proof that there is no separation. You are not separated of all those forces that influence you. In fact, all the forces happen within your presence. Your body, your mind, the next thought, every thought happen within your presence. Illusion of free will also happen within your presence. Doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing is a narrative. We've been conditioned to follow the narrative. We have moral codes, that I will be good and not bad. Can I change it? Do I have free will now to stop it? And for example, decide, okay, this world is whole illusion, so I'll go and steal and rape and do whatever. No, I can't do that, because that thought in that body, conditioned the way it was, it basically won't create action. It won't resonate. But it still feels like I have that choice. But do I? It can't produce any action. But it is a really valid question. It's a question that is really many people struggle with. Like feels there is a self that has free will. And Jesus told us we have free will. And Krishna told us we have free will. And yes, that's how you communicate. There is within the dream, you seemingly choose to have family or choose to go to work or choose to do good rather than bad. And all that feeds the dream. In the dream, we have the illusion of free will, like we have the separate bodies, even though we know the truth. That's, darling, you're disconnecting the sound. Oh yeah, I'll just read. There's another couple of answers from people who are online. The one before you ask the question that Vivek was saying, no need to notice, run after waves, no importance to waves. I am the water, calmness, love, peace. Everything is one. Yes, all the waves are just water. Beautiful, Vivek. And Amana says, thanks God, language is expression of universal silence, cosmic joke. No speaker or listener or commentator. Mirella says, beautiful. Did you want to?
Yeah. I see we keep falling back into the trap. Choice maker, free will and all the rest of it. No choice maker, choices are made, the natural, spontaneous functioning is going on. Not attributed to anybody. Just as it is. So you can postulate all these things and go into them if you like, but you're back in the trap. What is wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
The will is free, but no one has free will.
Yeah, beautiful clip. Yeah, will is free, but no one has it.
I wanted to pick up on what you said about, being stressed about what's going to happen in the future. When you see that time is a concept as well, it helps you just be right here, right now, because time is a concept as well as this me that is having free will. It's just all a story, basically. And once you see the thing about time, as well as you see the thing about the me, which is the mind, which is trying to, figure everything out. There's no answers in the mind. And time is a concept. There is only now. And choices will be made, actions will happen. You said, maybe, I should stop having free will and just let go with the flow. Well, when you go with the flow, you notice that thoughts will appear upon that flow, but there's no separation. There isn't you having a thought. There's just the mind having the narration about what's flowing now. And if you really start to watch, you'll see that things will just, naturally happen.
So you're saying there shouldn't be any resistance.
Exactly. You got it. That's it. You got it. That you got it. That's great. Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Yes, say that again, Bob, so everyone hears it. Resistance is conflict.
I say resistance is conflict. Conflict is disease. It's, you're in this conflict and thinking about it and makes you uneasy. That's disease. Whichever way something comes up, you like it, and you don't want it to go, not realising that everything's transient. It's going to change no matter how much you love it. You don't want it to go, so what do? We try to keep it there. So we resist it. And that resistance is conflict and disease. Something comes up you don't like, And again, we don't want to, we shouldn't be thinking this, so we resist it again. And more conflict, more disease. So all our problems, psychological problems come about from this resistance. Only me can be fearful, only me can be angry, unhappy, depressed, guilty. Me is the cause of all my psychological suffering. And the effects are the anxiety, the stress, the guilt, and all that, they're the effects of the cause. That's all that so-called karma is, cause and effect. What happens if I ask the question, can there be an effect if I'm not relating to a cause? So if you've done away with your karma.
You've done away with the karma when you see that there can't be an effect if you're not relating to a cause.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's nobody here to have karma.
That's right.
Yeah, and nobody here to reincarnate either.
I don't believe in karma, but karma believes in me.
I was thinking about what you were saying. I think because I was kind of exiting the room, but I caught a little piece about, like, at least something that maybe you were thinking there might be some divine planner or something, or a plan somehow. There's a planning or whatever. And the first thought that came, go ahead.
I was referring because what she said before, that, let it go.
Uh-huh.
Because you think you are a doer, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was
Right, yeah. But that there's something planning, but because that was the word I heard.
I couldn't get the word right.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
That's all good.
Yes, and I think we're going to just wrap it up, everyone, now, because we have tons of nice comments and questions. And perhaps, like a meeting starts, there was nothing. And yes, so if anyone would wish to join Bob on Zoom tomorrow morning, and that is the evening, Saturday evening for America. Oh no, is it Sunday evening? Saturday evening is now. Yes, so there will be more opportunity to discuss that things. Apart from that, welcome everyone next Sunday, and we have Zooms also on Tuesdays and Thursdays night. And those questions, sorry everyone, there is like 27 people who are commenting, we didn't really make it. We'll start the next meeting after the spiel from addressing all those beautiful sharing. So sorry we didn't make it this time, but it's going to happen.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
my
you.
apologies for being late.
Mm.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.